I would like to thank my colleague from New Mexico for his leadership on energy issues generally, as a former chairman, now the ranking Republican on the Energy Committee, and particularly for his leadership with regard to renewable fuels. In 2005, this Senate and the Congress passed an energy bill which was signed into law by the President, which for the first time ever, as a matter of policy, put in place a renewable fuel standard. And it was in no small part a tribute to the leadership of Chairman Domenici and his good work working with many of us who care deeply about renewable fuels and making sure that we are advancing that industry in this country so that we can lessen our dependence upon foreign sources of energy, that got done. And so I appreciate his leadership, and I'm glad to be able to work with him again now as we try and offer a renewable fuel standard to the Farm Bill that has already been adopted, as he mentioned, by the Senate with regard to the energy bill. The energy bill, as many of us know, is at least currently tied up, and we will produce an energy bill this year before Congress adjourns for the holidays. But if in fact we can't get that done, it's important for this industry, and I believe for our country's interest, that we get a renewable fuel standard, an expanded renewable fuel standard put in law. Mr. President, the bill before us today is entitled the Food and Energy Security Act of 2007, commonly referred to as the 2007 Farm Bill. The naming of this bill is not without meaning. It is abundantly clear that agriculture and energy production are inherently related, and together will move our nation toward greater food and energy security. The 2002 Farm Bill was the first farm bill to include an energy title. As a member of the House Agricultural Committee at the time, during the 2002 Farm Bill debate, I can attest that including an energy title in the Farm Bill was not easy, nor was it without controversy. However, Congress had the foresight to realize that renewable energy was an integral part to our agricultural economy, and a comprehensive Farm Bill would be incomplete without including renewable energy incentives. The Food Security Act of 2007 also includes an energy title that builds upon the successes of the 2002 bill. The incentives in this energy title will greatly benefit American consumers, our agriculture producers, and our nation's energy independence. Mr. President, as part of the 2007 Farm Bill, the Senate Agricultural Committee worked with what little resource we had to meet the demands of a new generation of renewable fuel. In particular, the committee included a provision that Senator Ben Nelson and I helped draft that will provide incentives for farmers to grow energy-dedicated crops in conjunction with the construction of a nearby biorefinery. There is a chicken and egg dilemma with regard to cellulosic ethanol production. If you ask a farmer in South Dakota or Georgia or California to change his planting pattern to grow energy-dedicated crops, the response will likely focus on lack of a market to sell these crops. You ask an ethanol producer about the prospects of cellulosic ethanol, they will likely highlight the lack of energy-dedicated crop availability. In reality, energy-dedicated crops such as poplar trees, switchgrass, other types of biomass can take 2 to 3 years to establish. Likewise, a new generation cellulosic ethanol biorefinery will take several months or years to build. There is an obvious gap in the marketplace for cellulosic ethanol production, and this bill will help fill this gap by providing first-of-its-kind incentives for producers who grow energy-dedicated crops in conjunction with the construction of local biorefineries. This provision represents significant progress in our agricultural policy as we look for ways to promote advanced biofuels. The Food and Energy Security Act also authorizes the U.S. Department of Agriculture to provide grants and loan guarantees for commercial-scale biorefineries. Private sector investment in the renewable fuels will ultimately determine the success of this industry, and it is critical that funding mechanisms are in place that will move cellulosic ethanol from the laboratory to full-scale production. Additionally, it's important to note that these loan guarantees would also benefit existing plants that wish to repower their facilities or retrofit with new cellulosic technology. By leveraging a small amount of tax money, tax dollars, with hundreds of millions of dollars in private equity, federally backed loans for new plants are an effective policy that will help grow the production of advanced biofuels. Although the Senate version of the 2007 Farm Bill includes several important energy provisions, it is missing one critical component that would increase the market demand for renewable fuels. Mr. President, just a few moments ago, Senators Domenici, Nelson, Grassley, and I introduced a bipartisan amendment to increase the renewable fuel standard from 7.5 billion gallons in 2012 to 36 billion gallons by the year 2022. Last June, the Senate acted in a bipartisan manner and passed an energy bill that increases the role renewable fuels plays as a part of our energy policy. This amendment reflects the Senate-passed renewable fuel standard, and I hope my colleagues will once again support this policy as an amendment to the 2007 Farm Bill. Now, some of my colleagues may ask, why include a renewable fuel standard as part of the 2007 Farm Bill? The answer is quite simple. Since the beginning of federal farm programs, no single policy has had a greater impact on America's agricultural industry than the renewable fuel standard created by Congress in 2005. The renewable fuel standard and the dramatic expansion of biofuels production has provided farmers with an alternative market for their crop and increased demand for corn production. The renewable fuel standard has created jobs in rural communities and spurred investment opportunities in rural America. The expansion of the biofuels industry hasn't been perfect. The dramatic expansion of biofuels has led to concern among some livestock producers and food processors about inflationary trends in commodity prices. However, these concerns, Mr. President, are being addressed by the marketplace. Producers have responded with record corn production and will continue to meet the demand for feed, food, ethanol, and exports. Additionally, like the Senate-passed renewable fuel standard, this amendment would boost the production of advanced biofuels by requiring the production of 21 billion gallons of cellulosic ethanol by the year 2022. Mr. President, crude oil is trading at over $90 a barrel. Many analysts are predicting oil will hit $100 a barrel in the near future. Typically in the late fall, early winter, consumers are granted a reprieve from high gasoline prices as demand subsides from the summer driving season. However, this fall, the retail price of gasoline has remained at high levels. Yesterday, the average price of gasoline reached $3 a gallon, an all-time record for gasoline prices in November. Now, many are predicting even higher prices in the near future if the price of crude continues to climb. When is enough? When are we going to take a stand and stop sending American dollars overseas to countries that want to harm the United States when we have an untapped resource for clean, renewable fuel right here at home? I believe I speak for a majority of United States senators when I say we should purchase our fuel from America's agricultural producers rather than from overseas oil cartels. In 2005, Congress enacted the first ever renewables fuel standard, 7.5 billion gallons by the year 2012. Mr. President, by the end of this year, our nation's ethanol capacity will total almost 7.5 billion gallons, 4 years ahead of schedule. With planned and existing construction, our nation's ethanol capacity will soon double. Clearly, as our biofuels industry advances, so must our national energy policy. Now is the time to increase the renewable fuel standard and usher in a new generation of cellulosic ethanol production. Mr. President, I want to thank Chairman Harkin and Ranking Member Chambliss for their support for a strong energy title on this Farm Bill. Over the past several months, we've had a thoughtful and conscientious debate on farm and energy policy. And as I said earlier, considering the limited resources presented to the committee, we crafted a bill that will undoubtedly move production agriculture and renewable fuels forward in a sustainable and a reliable manner. Adding a strong renewable fuel standard to the Food and Energy Security Act would greatly enhance these efforts. The United States Senate, Mr. President, is already on record for supporting this provision by a wide bipartisan majority. And I would encourage and urge my colleagues to once again support this important amendment. There are so many things that we can do in this Farm Bill to help improve the agricultural economy in this country.